Every year, thousands of hunters come west to chase elk around the mountains, and some of you are going to be lucky enough to be hunting off horses. Now, for those of you who haven't spent a whole lot of time around horses, they can be pretty intimidating, and rightly so. They're big, powerful animals. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips to keep in mind for your next hunting adventure. So when you first approach a horse, you don't need to approach them straight onto their face. You need to come right up to their shoulder. Throw an arm around the top of their neck. Then get your lead rope and put over. Get it right up here behind their ears. Once you got them like this, they're pretty much caught. Then you can put your halter on. You need to be standing beside them at all times. Put that on. This is a rope halter. You'll find a couple of different configurations. I like these because they're really light. They're strong. Get that knot settled up right under their chin. And there you got him. Now when you're leading the horse, you don't want to lead them with a real long lead rope like this. You know, they can step over that. It gives them too much leeway. The horse will learn that if they're led with a long lead rope and they're allowed to take advantage of somebody, they'll do it. They'll learn to do that, and before long they'll be leading you, and that's a situation you don't want to get into. So when you're leading your horse, grab them right up underneath the chin like this and just maintain a short lead on them, and you can make them go wherever you want. Now I'm going to show you what you do not want to do when you're approaching a horse, and I see a lot of people doing it with a lead rope. Is they'll come at them like this, and they try to come straight to them like that. And a horse is a prey animal. When you come straight at them like that, trying to put something on their face, they see that as a sign of danger or a threat, and they're just going to want to back away from you. So you always want to come to that shoulder, put your arm around them, and then catch them that way. So I've got my paint here tied on a high line, and I'm going to go ahead and just tie socks here to this tree. Now normally I wouldn't advise tying a horse to a tree for very long, but we're just going to tie him here for just a few minutes while we throw a saddle on him. If you tie a horse to a tree like this for any length of time at all, they're going to get bored and start pawing, and they'll make a donut around this tree, and if you leave them there for very long, they'll paw the roots up and end up killing the tree. But just tying them here for a few minutes while we're saddling, it'll be just fine. Now when you go to tie a horse, there's a couple of things that you need to keep in mind. Horses do not do well when they're tied down low. They need to be tied at least chin high, if not higher. What happens is these horses are pretty calm, and you can get away with a lot more with these guys than you can with a lot of horses. But even still, if a horse feels pressure holding his head down, a lot of times they're going to spook and they're going to pull back on that thing. And horses are big, powerful animals. If they pull back like that, they can hurt themselves, they can hurt you. And if in a worst case scenario, if you've got them tied to something that's not secure, like a snag or a log or something like that, if they start pulling back and that thing breaks and comes to them, you've got an absolute rodeo on your hands, and they're just going to keep backing up, and they're going to hurt somebody or hurt themselves. So make sure you tie them up high. This tree has a little branch which is going to hold this lead rope up. If I'm tying to a lodge pole or something like that doesn't have a branch, I'm going to make 2 wraps before I tie my knot, just to make sure that this doesn't slip down and end up down here, because then you're back into that situation where they're tied low. I'm going to tie just a little easy little slip knot with a quick release. So just basically you're tying a square knot around the main line there. Cinch that up around the tree. Now I've got this little tail hanging here, so if something does happen, something happens to spook him, all I've got to do is pull that and he's loose. So I've got my saddle here. I'm gonna go ahead and throw my saddle on there. First thing you want to do is just brush them off a little bit. You know, if you got them tied in the timber, they can get sticks and stuff stuck in their hide, and that's not real comfortable if that's under a blanket for very long. So I'll throw your blanket up there and start kind of high on their withers, and then you can slide that back, and that just keeps all that hair pointed in the right direction. Now I'm going to throw my saddle on there. Now when you throw your saddle on there, you got to give it a pretty good little fling to kind of get it up over their back and over their withers. You want this, the stirrup and the girth and all that stuff to go over the top of them. The saddle's not sitting on it. Give it a good little shake to settle it down there. This near side stirrup you can throw over the saddle horn to get it out of the way. And I need to let this girth down on the other side. Now, Socks has a habit. He's a pretty smart horse. He'll, when you're saddling him up, he'll blow up. He gets a big breath of air. And so when you're tightening the saddle, he's all full of air. And then once you walk away from him, he lets it out and he's left with a loose saddle on him. And that's not an uncommon trait in horses. They'll figure that stuff out, but to get around it, you know, once you walk him around a little bit, you can kind of surprise him. Just reach down here and cinch that sucker up where it needs to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my bridle on Socks. Now there again, you don't wanna come at him, you know, and try to put him on like that. You see how he's immediately just starts to back up? You want to come back around to their side like this. Put your hand over their neck just like you did when you put their halter on. Now sometimes I'll just leave the halter on if I'm going to be out hunting and I want to tie the horse up, but I'm going to go ahead and take it off for this. Go ahead and throw your reins up over their neck, and for putting the bridle on, it's helpful if you put your hand kind of right between their ears like that and grab it, and then grab the bit and get it right where their teeth come together, and they should open their mouths, and then just slip that right over their ears. When you get on a horse, when you make the commitment to get on, you got to just go ahead and do it. You can't be trying to, you know, hang on the saddle and pull yourself up. A lot of people grab hold to the saddle and put their foot in the stirrup and just kind of pull themselves up and hang on the saddle. That's not the way you want to do it. You want to go ahead and put your foot in the stirrup, grab your reins. You want to make sure you always have your reins. Woo. And then grab your saddle horn and just give it a little pop and hump, get right up there. Woo. Woo. When you get up, you want to get your weight up over the top of that horse and the top of that saddle as quick as you can. You don't want to be over here hanging on the side of the saddle. So go ahead and get up there and get your weight over and swing your leg over, and there you got it. Now, normally you'd get on the left hand and get off the left hand side of a horse. On a calm horse, you can get off, they'll let you do whatever you want. And a lot of times if I'm on steep country, I'll get off on whatever side is the uphill side just because it's easier.